Welcome to the ITSP Magazine Podcast Network. You're tuning into an episode of the Redefining Society podcast, hosted by Marco Ciappelli. Let's face it, the future is now. We live in a hybrid analog-digital society, and we must stop ignoring it or pretending that technology is not affecting us. The line between the physical and virtual worlds has become a figment of our imagination. On it, we are continually performing a dangerous balancing act, juggling convenience, privacy, freedom, security, technology, society, culture, and even the future of humanity. There is no better place than here, and no better time than now to muse on our relationship with technology and how to redefine what society means in this new age.
Black Cloak provides concierge cybersecurity protection to corporate executives and high net worth individuals to protect against hacking, reputational loss, financial loss, and the impacts of a corporate data breach. Learn more at blackcloak.io. BugCrowd's award-winning platform combines actionable contextual intelligence with the skill and experience of the world's most elite hackers to help leading organizations identify and fix vulnerabilities, protect customers, and make the digitally connected world a safer place. Learn more at bugcrowd.com. Devo unlocks the full value of machine data for the world's most instrumented enterprises. The Devo Data Analytics Platform addresses the explosion in volume of machine data and the crushing demands of algorithms and automation. Learn more at devo.com.
Hello, everybody. This is Marco Ciappelli. Welcome back to another episode of Redefining Society podcast, where lately I joke about that every time that I redefine it, I have to start all over again because it changed way too quickly, our society. And part of that is obviously because technology is changing really quickly and we need to adapt, and hopefully we need to drive those changes and not just being carried around by those waves that lately, again, they come pretty fast and pretty strong. And I have to say, and here's the drinking game, generative AI. So every time I say this word, I guess somebody might even laugh. Make $1 or drink a sip of whatever your favorite beverage is. But we have to talk about it. It's really changing things. It's always in the news. Politicians are talking about it. Legislators, we are scared and excited at the same times. And if there is one place, which is the workplace, where it seems to affect a lot the future of how the workforce is going to perform and judge and hired and live with generative AI. And so today's conversation is going to be quite exciting. We have, for those watching the video, you already seen it, Jonas, and I'm going to try the last name, Angleflod. I hope I did a good job enough. He will tell me. And for those listening, yes, he's here. I'm not lying. Jonas, thank you for coming to the show.
Yeah, thank you, Marco. Really appreciate you having me. So I can do the native pronunciation of my surname.
Please, let's learn the language here.
Yeah, so in Swedish, I'm Swedish. My name is Jonas Angleflod. Or in the American version is like Jonas Angleflod.
Okay, I got it pretty close. So.
Yeah, it was pretty.
I don't know
close.
What's the Italian version, but I think it's close to the.
I think you have to teach me that one.
We'll figure it out. We'll do that after the show. I'll have a little laugh about that. But let's start from that, from the name, but mostly from the person that carries that name, which is you. So who is Jonas? Give us a little background about yourself and what actually make you so passionate, and I know you wrote a book about the workforce and especially now about AI. So a little intro about yourself.
Okay, so the super short version, because I could probably talk about myself for the longevity of this podcast, but the short version is I've been in basically starting startups, running startups, taking them from from the garage to scale-ups the last 15 years. I have a background in telecoms, and then I moved into SaaS, the SaaS business software, and currently I'm group CEO of a digital media group. So my background is basically building products and organizations, scaling them, getting them off the ground, the first version, like proof of concept, scaling them, making them into companies that are actually, a few of them are actually quite successful now. So that's the short version of my background. But I'm my passion around kind of the workforce and the technology comes from, well, basically me being a tech nerd without having any of the technical capabilities. So I had to kind of survive in the tech world some other way. That way was working, managing, organizing, working with the business, because I can't write code. I can't do anything, but I can understand concepts pretty well when it comes to technology and how it affects us. And I love the idea of taking something that is a seed or an embryo that has a possibility and stretching it into the future to see, like, what can we make of this? That excites me.
And it excites me too. I mean, when you're saying these things, I kind of see a little bit of myself in it, because I ended up talking a lot about technology. My background is sociology and political science. So, but I'm excited about all these things happening and how they shape. Maybe I look a little bit more in general how they shape society, and I look at it from a philosophical perspective. But we need that translation, technology to humanity and humanity to technology. And that's why we're here talking about this. So I'm going to start with this, because I know you wrote a book about a couple of years ago. We don't need a date, but it was called Fast, Tight, and Relevant, which is three good advice for a company, I think. So we can talk about that. But at the time, while AI was into the conversation, it wasn't so much into the news. Maybe we're talking about language, we're talking about translation, maybe visual application for AI. I mean, it seems like 30 years ago, but it was only like 3 years ago. And then this big change happened. So were you already envisioning this big change when you were writing the book, or you have to kind of adapt that concept to the way you see things now?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the things, and this comes kind of from this is for me personally. I don't like the word revolution, because nothing is a revolution. Everything is a constant evolution of things piling up on each other. And the book Fast, Tight, Relevant was basically my recipe for how to build a small organization and make it scale. And those principles, which basically are like standardize everything, make sure that you have a working process on paper first, then you can scale it up, you can put it into code, or you can accelerate it. All of those are foundations for actually using these AI tools. What AI is basically an accelerator, a smart accelerator of a working process or something that is already working. So I was smart enough to write in the book that the tools that I'm talking about now will become dated, but the principles, make something work, standardize it, then you can scale it up. That will probably stay with us for a really long time, even through the AI age and whatever comes next, because it's kind of fundamental for taking something really small that you can do one of and making it millions or billions. So hopefully, but at some point the book will be dated and I have to update it, probably.
Yeah, almost every book, unless you write a fantasy book and then it's your world, you do what you want with it.
Yeah.
Middle Earth, let's say that. But we're talking about reality here, so we need to keep into consideration again that we are redefining, we're reinventing, adapting to all of this. So I think your approach is great. But before we go into maybe some of the way that you see this adaptation happening, do we have some deja vu moment where we've gone through these changes, this kind of changes, pivotal changes, and somehow we're doing okay. I mean, certainly not
Yeah.
perfect as a society, but we're doing all right.
Yeah, definitely, and I'm one of the people that want to kind of induce or give some sense of peace in this kind of the AI is coming. If we kind of rewind back to November 2022, when it became like it publicly exploded, everything I heard in the business sector was, "Oh my God, the robots are coming." But I don't believe that is the case. I believe it's a super useful tool. And if we look at other pivotal moments that are kind of in comparison with this, we can go back to the early, let's say, mid 18th century with the start of the industrialization. I mean, the only thing that happened there, say that the ability to create steam engine or water driven industrial plants, they changed society, they changed the workplace. Let's take clothing as a simple example. What happened basically was we could start producing lots of clothes that probably conquered out the local tailor and replaced the local tailor. But we didn't end up with one giant clothes factory in Great Britain alone, serving all the people of the world, because two other things happened. The price of production went close to zero, or it got drastically reduced, which made the demand soar. So that gave us like the idea of abundance. So the normal person went from having one shirt, one pair of pants, and actually having to be without shoes during the summer, not to kind of wear the only pair of shoes you had out. We went from having that to, I don't know, how many shirts do you have? How many pants?
More than what I need.
Exactly. So I mean, so we went from a place where the big scare was industrialization will kill the tailor and all the local craftsmen, and we will all be jobless. But that didn't happen, right? We came into a world where production cost was lower, productivity was higher, which made it possible for kind of demand to soar, and we could kind of clothe more people. And you have the same kind of pivotal moment with the automobile. When Henry Ford and Benz were kind of creating this idea, most people, probably more of the intellectual elite, said that no gentleman would ever consider a motor car anything else than a sports or recreational vehicle. And now motor cars has been driving the economy with freight and everything like that for decades or even century. So I think we're kind of standing in this pivotal moment. I mean, the entrance of computers in the workplace in the 70s, the entrance of the internet in the 90s, and now AI in the 20s. They are pretty similar. And what has happened, what is really interesting to draw kind of parallels from then into the future is, in all of these changes, what happens is the price of production has gone down. We won't get hit zero. We will never do that. Potentially, or theoretically, we could, but the price of production will reduce in terms of services, in terms of other things, well, not only goods, but services and anything else, which means that the demand can soar. And I think we're kind of facing that exact thing. So if we look at the entrance of the internet in the 90s into the workplace, it took about 10 years until something really happened. And what happened then was there was a birth of a lot of new types of jobs. So the social media manager, the chief digital officer, the data analyst. I mean, those, no one would have even imagined those in the 70s. So I think we're in a place where the demand for a lot more creative, hopefully playful work types or work tasks is in front of us. which means that hopefully we can leave the mundane, dangerous, and boring things, or data-wise complex things, to machines, and work with machines and guide them. And we've been talking about this in the organizations that I'm engaged in. I'm in a couple of boards for a few startups. So what we talk about is, okay, what does a day in the life of someone working in these organizations look like? I mean, what would you imagine? I mean, today I use a ton of apps to help me, and I work with them basically with the same type of input that has been along since the 70s. It's a keyboard and a mouse. But the entrance of AI makes that user interface possible to change. This could actually be someone that I could converse with. So instead of me typing days on end, giving it assignments, just like, hey, could you help me write the TPS reports or whatever report you think are boring? Or could you gather this information for me, compile it in a way so I can start drawing conclusions? I would move myself to work with more interesting, maybe more creative things, finding things that would be an opportunity here and there. So hopefully what we're seeing, or what we're kind of standing on the threshold for, is a more fun and more engaging workplace.
Yeah, and a lot of good point, and maybe we can use some example of concrete categories of works, because here's what I'm thinking. I agree with you. We are in a constant evolution, constant change. We get excited, and yet we are very afraid of it. So it's kind of a paradox, my opinion, from a philosophical perspective, because like, okay, I have this job. I don't know, I'm the assistant, and I'm the one that you tell me what to write and or what to summarize. Could be an intern, could be whatever you want. And all of a sudden, well, you can do that with ChatGPT, and actually you can talk to it nowadays. And so this person feel threatened because like, that's my job. what am I gonna do? And like that, I feel like there are many that are on the line, like there was the people that drive the carriage and the horses when the cars come out, or the tailor, your example. So there is a certain category. I don't want to generalize in terms of blue collar, white collar. That's way too wide, in my opinion. But maybe some example of how somebody in the organization can orchestrate the shift, so it doesn't say, well, I don't need you anymore because I have a machine that does that for me now, but I can use your time in a better way. Like in an ideal utopian world, that will be what the company should do, in my opinion. What's your take on that?
I think that the Klondike area will be the first couple of years where company owners see, hey, I have a massive opportunity to kind of maximize profit here. So of course there's going to be displacement to begin with, because it's easier to displace a person probably in the beginning than to reimagine what they're going to do to come to a place where you can do 2x, 4x, 10x of that person's time. So there's going to be a short period here where some company founders or some company are going to take that easy route. But the more smart one is to actually do, as you say, like, how can we leverage your time into something that is more engaging for you and produces more output for the company. And what we see when we talk about this, because you can basically today build an autonomous agent that would do a data analyst, go through pilot data, analyze it, compile it for you, which takes away a junior analyst, right? But that junior analyst could probably manage 10 of these agents, seeing cross-references, preparing, like trying to dig into the data to see where are there business opportunities here, not just like doing the mundane job, but actually using what they probably used 10 or 20% of the time to today, do that 100%, more relaxed, more creative, to create more output. So it's basically, if we would envision it, I think we will come to a place where we have to lift every worker to become somewhat of a leader. So you can lead these autonomous agents in their work and make something productive out of that instead of doing the tap work. Because I mean, at the office place today, I've been at both small companies and medium-sized and big companies. A lot of things that are happening is copy pasting, moving information from one system to another. That's something that's not kind of engaging and doesn't really bring any value. So, but if I could move myself to have 10 of those agents doing that for me, I could work with how can we make use of this information, or how could we compile it? What's the next level and next level and next level? And that's a bit more complex. What it does, it takes away the entry level or the junior level of the workplace in terms of, I wouldn't say white collar, but service workers or knowledge workers. But it won't happen overnight. I think no company will adapt. Well, a few of them are crazy enough to say, let's go full AI and throw out all the humans. But I don't think that the majority of the workplace would look like that, because as we've seen, let's go back, let's view back again to the industrialization, the automobile, the computers, the internet, and so on. It took 10 to 20 years before we, as an organization and humans, adapted to the technology. The technology changes in an instant. It's kind of binary from one day to another. It's either worthless or really good. But for us to adapt it and to adapt ourselves, it takes time. So I think we're going to have a lot of time to make these adaptations. And the mind shift we have to teach ourselves and we have to kind of implement in organization is how do we train ourselves to become good leaders for these autonomous agents that do the mundane work.
Yep, I absolutely love that, because you need to look at, and I do. I mean, I play with ChatGPT all the time in my job. I mean, I find ways to get more creative with it. It's not just write a summary for this podcast. Why should I? But I also don't just put out the old summary full of tapestry and and 12 and all the words that ChatGPT likes to use. I need to put something on my own as a creative person, and I think that's the idea also to consider. Like, to what you say, you need to lead where the tool can bring you. It's not going to be the other way around. Otherwise, you're just going to disappear in the background, right? So.
Yeah, and it's still a tool, and of course, well, the one thing that early on in the when ChatGPT was launched, everybody that I talked with said like, "Oh my God, the robots are coming," but hey, they're stupid because look at the output. Yep. So that was like a bit of hope and despair at the same time. Yeah. But then they grew into, okay, but this is good. I can use it for this, but it can't do creativity. But I think that's a dangerous thought, because if we kind of move ourselves into the creativity corner and say that's a human trait, you can't do that. Well, let's take a look at creativity. It's not a divine process. It's a logical process of deductions, where you kind of take one thought and lead to another, and at some point you say, what if I do the opposite? Or what if this wasn't true? And then you lead it back, and then you've created, like, then you have Monet, Van Gogh, or whoever. It's kind of a logical process. So at some points, these systems will learn creativity and start inducing that as well. So the only way for us to leverage this is to look at it in I love the word augmentation, because that's actually where we're going. The industry machine augmented a worker so they could produce more clothes, more cars, more TVs, which made it possible for more people in the world to enjoy those kind of luxuries. Yep. I think we have to take this, we have to, from a kind of metaphoric standpoint, not be at the conveyor belt actually putting the things together. We have to take a step back and manage the robot that puts the things together, and view ourselves like, how do we do that as knowledge worker? Because that becomes abstract. Like that's leadership, that's guidance, that's something else. So I think if when we've had these discussions in the small companies I'm in, we've actually said like, okay, we're struggling with this, but what about a medium-sized companies, 500 to 1,000 employees? The HR department and the development department and the managers are going to have a really hard job in front of them, figuring out new ways to train people to kind of take this step. Because it's super easy to say, this is the instruction, welcome to work. This is the instruction, this is what you're going to do. Go ahead and do it. I'll check in at lunch.
Yeah.
But you can't really do that if it's more complex than that. So I think we have a training and a knowledge transition challenge in front of us.
I think it comes down to education and the way that we prepare people, because we always said that you said can easily be applied to the education system, where it's happening a lot of lawsuit for people writing using generative AI. On the other side, there's people, those said, nope, we don't want it. Others say, no, we're going to use the machine to fight the machine. So we're going to see if it's being infringement and so on. And I think it's a wrong approach. The right approach is we got this amazing tool. Instead of say yes or no, let's teach people how to use it, which I can see a parallel between an educational organization as well as any other business, right? So it's a cultural change. That change that probably is going to take 10 years, 20 years to get there. But if you don't do that, if you don't say, I'm going to use this person as a human because has certain skills that the machine doesn't have, but if I put together the machine with a bright human that is empowered to find a way to apply this immense resource that you have, then we can really elevate, I think, our status and our life.
Yeah, and I think I'm always a positive person. I see a really bright future because I would love to have a few of these agents working with me. One doing the financial report, which I hate. One doing prepping the board report, which I hate. Exactly. One kind of doing data analysis and finding trends that I'm not aware of, because I cannot, as a human, have the possibility to see what is trending in Vietnam right now. I live in Sweden. My cultural references are Swedish. But an autonomous agent without the cultural references could definitely find me what's happening in Vietnam right now, and is there an opportunity for us to create something in that market that is of value for the market and the people living there. And so I'm looking forward to having morning talks with those agents, checking in, like, what did you find yesterday? Okay, was it any good? Okay, could you look into more of that? So it's more of managing these apps, say autonomous apps instead of bots or AI agents, because that's what it's kind of apps that you could talk to that behaves hopefully like a well-trained assistant.
Yeah, and there is the fear. We grew up all with sci-fi and no, sorry, Dave, I cannot do that. Oh, HAL 9000, and we expect that they're going to take over in a way or in another. And it is a possibility in the long run. I mean, that's why they just had the meeting in the UK about that. We're talking about it. We need to talk about it. The joke is sometimes when I talk to other people in the industry, especially in the cybersecurity one, is like, where's the plug? Like, what if something goes wrong? How do I unplug this thing, right, when it's connected? But you know, it's exciting. I think it is. Where do you see it to go in the future? I mean, let's put it this way: what are, in your opinion, the organization that will succeed, and is there recipes, a formula for that? And those that really risking to fall into the cracks because they didn't do something to move into the future.
Okay, so let me start with a disclaimer because this is a famous last words type of question. Whatever I predict now will be wrong.
I know, but I like to end the conversation with a look on the future, with a teen
Yeah, definitely. No, the companies and I wouldn't limit it to companies. I would say the organization, because this goes out to NGOs, and foundations, and everything. Anywhere where two or more people have to produce something together. The ones that will succeed with this are the ones that think augmentation. I have two kind of basic principles. Whatever I do right now is 1x of what can be done, which means I always look at how can I make this 2x, 4x, 10x. And with that mindset, you always kind of reset. This is where I am now. How can I double it for 10? So the organizations that view this as a super powerful tool, just as powerful as the computer was when it was introduced on the internet, and think augmentation instead of competition. It's not it's not a human competitor, it's a human augmenter. They will succeed. And with that comes, as you clearly pointed out, education. We have to educate ourselves and our organizations how to use these tools and how to leverage them. We're still kind of dabbling with it. And that's also kind of society needs to do that. But educate and train people in how to manage, because you don't have to talk about or manage yourself. You have to manage someone else or something else. So hopefully I kind of don't like the phrase self-leadership that has been really trending for a long time, because I think that's not the case anymore. We're talking about leading others is more important than leading yourself. And being able to train ourselves in how to do that, how to take that step, how to think, okay, can I get you to do this? What do I do with the result? How can I get you to engage with someone else? How can I? It's kind of more question based than actually ticking off to-dos on a to-do list. And that's the other mindset, the like self-leadership and productivity hype that's been going on for like the last 20 years. You see all self-help books is like how to become more productive, how to become, well, we already cracked it. You don't have to be productive. You have to be creative, and you can let the machine be productive. So hopefully we'll get like the ticking of the to-do list away, and hopefully as forgotten as the fax machine soon. And I mean, so it's another way of thinking. It's thinking about how can I lead these agents, apps, or systems in a good way so they can produce a valuable output for me, for the organization, and for the world. Those who do that and always kind of think of it as an augmentation, they will reap really nice benefits of this the next coming 10 years.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, and I love that. And I'm thinking also, again, it starts with any sort of rewiring of ourselves. The family teaching to the kids that, those that have lost the opportunity of understanding how computer works, but not in terms of how computer works. I don't know, but what they do and how to interact with it, that's an opportunity. And then it came with the internet, and and those that instead of using your super powerful computer on your phone that now includes AI, and you're using it just to, I don't know, for social media, and you don't use the resources that it has. I think there is a lack of education. We're not embedding technology in our DNA and what we pass in our genetic. But now I'm going really sci-fi here, but I think eventually we will be very used to interact with this machine, which now they're very scary. I know people that are like, I can't talk to my to an AI and then it answer back. I don't know. I'm scared about it. There'll be a day that'll be totally normal. the Jetson will be here, and you will talk with robot.
I mean, I think that kind of fear is natural. That was the same fear as we saw when Gutenberg introduced the printing press. It was like the fear of low quality text. It would flood the world with heresy and whatever. That didn't happen. It flooded the world with literacy instead. So I mean, and the same with the locomotive. The fear was if the body would move faster than 30 kilometers per hour, it would lead to sudden death. That wasn't the case. So I think we always react as a society and as a species to change with a bit of fear. And I think that it's the same case here.
Yeah,
it's definitely the same case. But you have a point, and I think I want to point that out as well. Education and educating ourselves, not banning the tools in schools, embracing them in the schools is probably only the sure way to make this beautiful potential stay beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. And I think with that, let's finish on these positive notes, and let's not be negative. I think the news are already leveraging negativity against technology a little too much. So we're going to do the opposite. We're going to be positive and stay like that. Jonas, fantastic conversation. I really, really appreciate it. I hope the audience will take as much pleasure and knowledge that I got from this. So I hope they are thinking right now on how they can change their little things around, or their company, their small business, doesn't matter. I mean, I'd say jump on it. That's my advice. And try to understand how to leverage that. And for you, again, thank you so much. And come back anytime. I would love to have to go even deeper in this. We can talk about it.
Anytime. I'd be happy to be back. Thanks a lot.
All right. Bye, everybody. Be sure to subscribe, whatever you're watching and listening. There'll be many more conversation coming your way from Redefining Society podcast and me. Take care.
Devo unlocks the full value of machine data for the world's most instrumented enterprises. The Devo Data Analytics Platform addresses the explosion in volume of machine data and the crushing demands of algorithms and automation. Learn more at devo.com. BugCrowd's award-winning platform combines actionable contextual intelligence with the skill and experience of the world's most elite hackers to help leading organizations identify and fix vulnerabilities, protect customers, and make the digitally connected world a safer place. Learn more at bugcrowd.com. Black Cloak provides concierge cybersecurity protection to corporate executives and high net worth individuals to protect against hacking, reputational loss, financial loss, and the impacts of a corporate data breach. Learn more at blackcloak.io.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Redefining Society podcast, hosted by Marco Ciappelli. If you learned something new, and this conversation made you think, then add this show to your favorite podcast player, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and share the ITSP Magazine podcast network with your friends, family, and colleagues. We hope you will come back for more stories and follow us on our journey.